Right now, you are wearing something. A shirt, a pair of jeans, maybe socks you definitely meant to change yesterday. You put them on without thinking. You have done it every single day of your life. But here's the strange part. For most of human existence, nobody wore anything at all. So how did that change? And why? The answer is not modesty. It is not weather. And it is definitely not fashion. The real reason your ancestors started covering their bodies is stranger, darker, and far more deeply wired into your biology than any clothing brand would ever want to admit. Let's go back, way back. Around 170,000 years ago, your ancestors were fully modern humans in body. Same brain size, same hands, same capacity for language and tools. But they were also completely naked. No shirts, no shoes, no anything. And for most of East and Central Africa, that was completely fine. The climate was warm. The body was adapted. Skin worked exactly as it was supposed to. Then something happened. Around 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, the climate shifted. Parts of Africa cooled. Ice ages crept across the northern hemisphere. And your ancestors began pushing into new environments. Colder grasslands. Coastal regions with biting winds. Eventually, the edges of deserts where nights dropped below freezing. Naked skin, which had served perfectly well in warm savanna heat, suddenly became a liability. So your ancestors needed insulation, and the fastest solution was already walking around them. They killed animals for food. The hides were there. The fur was there. The first clothing was almost certainly not sewn, not shaped, not designed. It was a skin draped over a shoulder, a wrap held in place by a hand or a stone. Simple, functional, life-saving. But here is where the story gets genuinely fascinating. Because researchers discovered that clothing did not leave a fossil record. You cannot dig up a shirt from 100,000 years ago. The fabric rots. The leather disintegrates. For a long time, scientists had almost no way to date when clothing actually began. Then a biologist named Mark Stonking at the Max Planck Institute had an unusual idea. He studied lice. Specifically, he studied the genetic split between head lice and body lice. Head lice live in hair. Body lice live in clothing. They are different enough genetically that scientists can calculate when they diverged from a common ancestor. The data pointed to a split roughly 83,000 years ago, with some estimates ranging up to 170,000 years back. That was the moment body lice evolved a habitat that did not exist before: clothing. Stonking's team published their findings, and it quietly rewrote the timeline of human fashion history. Your first wardrobe did not come from a desire to look good. It came from a parasite finding a new home in your ancestors' new invention. Now here is where most people assume the story ends. Cold climate, animal hides, problem solved. But there was a second force driving clothing that almost nobody talks about. And it had nothing to do with temperature. It had to do with sunlight. When your ancestors moved out of dense forests into open grasslands, they lost shade. Intense UV radiation began damaging skin. Nina Jablonski, a paleoanthropologist at Penn State University, has spent decades studying skin color and its relationship to UV exposure. Her research shows that early humans in equatorial Africa evolved dark, heavily melanated skin precisely to protect DNA from solar radiation. But here's the problem. As populations migrated north and east into regions with weaker sunlight, that same protective melanin began blocking vitamin D synthesis. The body was shielding itself from a threat that no longer existed at the same intensity. And vitamin D deficiency, untreated, is quietly catastrophic. It weakens bones. It disrupts immune function. It impairs brain development in children. So your ancestors needed a solution. Clothing was part of it. By covering the body selectively, by learning which skin to expose and which to protect, early humans began managing UV exposure in ways that pure biology could not keep up with. They were, in a very real sense, engineering their own sun protection before sunscreen existed. Think about that the next time you reach for SPF 50. But clothing was doing something else too. Something that researchers did not fully appreciate until fairly recently. It was changing social behavior. When you cover the body, you create something that did not exist before. You create the concept of what is hidden. You create curiosity. You create the boundary between what is shown and what is not. And according to evolutionary psychologist Jeffrey Miller at the University of New Mexico, that boundary became socially and sexually significant almost immediately. Clothing did not suppress sexuality. It intensified it. By concealing the body, clothing transformed the reveal into an event. It created a new layer of social communication. What you wore and what you chose to show became information about who you were. Your status, your alliances, your availability, your group membership. The moment your ancestors draped an animal hide over themselves, they accidentally invented fashion. They invented the idea that the body is something that can be curated, decorated, and communicated through. Every runway show, every logo, every carefully chosen outfit you have ever put together for a first date traces back to that moment. And the social pressure only compounded over time. Once one person in a group covered themselves, others followed. Not because the climate demanded it everywhere, but because being covered became the norm. And in a deeply social species, violating the norm has always carried a cost. Your ancestors who refused to adapt were, gradually, excluded from the behavior patterns of the group. Clothing became a signal of belonging. Anthropologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard University has noted that early clothing likely also served as a canvas for identity. Ochre dyes found at Blombos Cave in South Africa, dating back roughly 100,000 years, suggest that early humans were already decorating surfaces, including potentially their own bodies and materials they wrapped themselves in. The impulse to mark your clothing as yours, as representing something, is not modern vanity. It is ancient cognition. It is the same impulse that makes you buy a jersey with a name on the back or a jacket with a logo on the chest. Your brain is doing exactly what brains were doing 100,000 years ago, declaring allegiance, marking identity, sending a signal. Now here is the twist that almost nobody considers. For most of the time clothing has existed, it was not available to everyone. In ancient Egypt, in Rome, in medieval Europe, fine cloth was extraordinarily expensive. Linen, silk, wool dyed in certain colors. These were restricted to the wealthy and the powerful. In the Byzantine Empire, the color purple was literally reserved for royalty by law. You could be executed for wearing the wrong color. Your clothing was not just protection. It was politics. It was hierarchy made visible. Every glance at another person's clothes was a fast assessment of their power, their wealth, and their place in the world. That cognitive habit did not disappear when fabric became cheap. It adapted. Today, your brain still runs that same ancient evaluation routine every time you walk into a room. It scans what people are wearing. It assigns status. It makes predictions about personality, intelligence, and trustworthiness based on clothing within milliseconds. Research published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology found that people made social judgments about clothing in under a second, and those judgments were consistent and difficult to override even when participants were told explicitly not to judge. Your brain is running 100,000-year-old status software on a world full of fast fashion and brand logos. It was never really about being cold. It was about survival, yes, but also about status, about identity, about the social mathematics of a species that lives and dies by how well it reads and is read by others. So next time you spend 20 minutes deciding what to wear, do not be embarrassed. You are not being shallow. You are doing something ancient and deeply human. You are choosing your signal. You are curating what story you want to tell before you say a single word. You are doing exactly what your ancestors did 83,000 years ago when a cold wind came and they reached for a skin to cover themselves. They were not thinking about fashion, but they invented it anyway. And right now, so are you.